Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7. We are going to discuss about the characteristic of fiction and how to interpret the text. With me Yeni Sulistiawati and my friends namely Lila Putri Wulandari. Enjoy the video and happy watching.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lila Putri Wulandari, NPM 1911040060. Here I will explain about characteristic of fictional. The definition of fiction is an imaginary or non-scientific narrative force by the author and not based on reality. In other words, fiction does not occur in the real world and is only based on one's imagination or thoughts. Although fiction is only the imagination of the author, it still makes sense and contains truth that can dramatic human relationships. The word fiction comes from English, namely fiction, which means fiction or fantasy. There are several types of art that are included in written fiction: novel, short story, soap opera, drama, telenovela, comedy movies, and others. Characteristics of fiction, referring to the above definition of fiction, can recognize a work of fiction from its characteristics. Fiction is the fiction or imagination the author that is art truths that are relative or not absolute. In general, fiction uses language that cannot or not work of fiction not have standard systematic generally. Work of fiction target the reader's emotion or feeling, not logic. In a work of fiction, there is certain moral message or mandate. Types of fiction. After understanding the meaning of fiction and its characteristics, we can also find out what types of literary work are included in fiction. That's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm Yeni Sulistiawati, NPM 1911040515. Here I will explain to you for the next material. And here are some types of fiction in literature. The first is novel. The definition of novel is a fictional composition that spells the main characters with the pros and cons in the story from the beginning to the end of the novel that has a climax or ending. And the second is romance. The notion of romance is work of fiction that tells about several the characters in the storyline. And the third, short stories. The definition of short stories is a fictional work that contains much less content than a romance or novel. However, the short story has its own charm because it can be an initial lesson for writers in making a written work. And the examples of fiction stories based on the characteristics and types of fiction described above, here are some examples of fictional stories. And the first example of romance fiction. There are many literary works in the form of romance. Apart from that, there are also quite a few types of romance. For example, adventure romance. Some examples of literary works in the form of romance, namely Frogs Want to Be Oaks from Roman Psychology. And examples of novel fiction. Similar to romance, literary works in novel form are abundant nowadays and we can easily find them in bookstores. Examples: Siti Nurbaya, Dylan 1990, Thinking of the Van der Week, When Love Glorifies God. And the third example of short story fiction. Examples of short stories are often found in Indonesian print media, such as newspaper and magazines. Some of the short stories include Love Doesn't Mama, Oh Papa. Okay, I think that's all I can inform to you. And the last for our presentation, sorry for our mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.